Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. We have a devblog for the next major update, and it is for a wild and wonderful vehicle. This is the DBLK. It's going to be a Russian rank 1 premium bomber, which sucks. It would be really nice if this was in the tech tree, but as a premium bomber, it has a completely ridiculous design and also really interesting. We've talked about this vehicle a few times. It's been on a leak list, and then also it was on the dev server last time, but only as a kind of outer shell of the vehicle. But the vehicle can bring 2,000 kilos of bombs, whether they be HE or AP. It has a bunch of machine guns on it, and also, of course, is pretty unique in its general design. In this video, we'll talk about its gameplay, we'll talk about its history, and also talk about the fact that it shouldn't really be a premium. As always, if you enjoy the content, make sure to subscribe, and also like the video. Let's get started. The development of the DBLK began in 1937. In the spring of 1938, after a full-scale mock-up was approved by a special commission of the Air Force, it was decided to go ahead with construction on a functional prototype. To manage the project, the Aircraft Design Bureau, named KB4, was organized at Moscow Plant number 156. The aircraft received the preliminary designation of Order 350 and was designed as a twin-fuselage bomber for the USSR. The overall design followed the flying wing concept, with an unusual reverse-swept wing construction. Due to the unique and complex design, it inevitably faced serious difficulties. Initially, the aircraft was designed around the promising M88 engines, which were projected to provide a speed of 550 to 600 kilometers an hour. Due to their unreliability, however, the less powerful M87B engines had to be installed instead. Construction of the aircraft was mostly complete by September of 1939, and state trials were conducted between April and June of the following year, which quickly revealed significant shortcomings. The aircraft failed to meet the requirements for maximum speed, and had excessively high takeoff and landing speeds, which was typical for tailless designs. Despite the project flying faster than the production DB3, the State Commission did not accept the machine, and further work on the project was discontinued. The only prototype was destroyed in October of 1941 as German troops approached Moscow, as there were no available pilots capable of ferrying the plane to the rear. This vehicle is incredibly weird and wacky, and I would actually have expected it to be an event vehicle at some point, but it's very odd they're just bringing it in as a premium for the next major update. Of course, this type of vehicle doesn't surprise me as a premium. Normally, something as unique and weird and wonky as this would actually become a premium or an event vehicle. It just kind of sucks that it is one. When it comes to bombers, especially at the lower areas, there isn't a lot of kind of variety. You either get the ones with the really large bomb loads, which are pretty slow, or you get the ones with the tiny bomb loads, which are supposed to be a bit maneuverable. This one would have been a little bit odd and a little bit different, but it's going to be behind a paywall. It's not too surprising. The most surprising one was the King 6 in the last update, but the DBLK just... it really sucks, the fact that they've decided to go around or down this route with it. The bomber itself, it's a twin-fuselage bomber with 2 cockpits. This is obviously quite a rare setup. One cockpit is set up for the pilot, and the other one has the navigator or the bombardier, or I should say. It uses a pair of the M87B engines. When finding out that this thing used the M88 engines, kind of reminded me of the story of the I-185s, where it was like, hey, this vehicle is projected to be really good. Everything looks great on it. Why does the engine keep blowing up? The DBLK just reminded me of that, and unfortunate history of the I-185. But the main thing that we look at from a bomber is, especially at low BRs, is not just its general speed, which this thing should have quite a lot of, it's actually its bomb load. This vehicle can carry over 2,000 kilos on its external hardpoints in the center of the fuselage, and also a small bomb bay inside the fuselage itself. So this is going to be one of those bombers with a lot of bombs, and that is going to be really annoying in terms of dealing with it in a ground forces area and even probably a naval forces area. In air, obviously, especially after some of the changes that they made to aerialistic, there's not really a ton that's going to go on when it comes to the bombs itself. It's probably just going to be able to nuke 2 bases, and then that's really about it. Then people might use it as a weird pseudo dogfighter, because this also has some interesting machine guns. It was kind of interesting how they mentioned that the bombs that it can carry, these 1,000 kilos they look like, or maybe 500s, you can either get them in HE or AP, as if anybody's going to use the AP bombs. They still have to figure out how to actually make those usable in the game. They just don't seem to have a use right now, and hopefully at some point they will, but at least at the moment, it isn't the case. The vehicle itself is cool, and I hope it's not crazy expensive, so therefore people can kind of enjoy it. And also, looking at its machine gun layout, that's also pretty fun. So this doesn't just have defensive guns like a lot of bombers, it also has some offensive guns as well. So the defensive guns, it has in the back of the tail cones of each of the, well, I suppose the fuselages. These are only 7.62mm ShKASs. They're the same as what you find on a lot of biplanes, and also a few of the early Russian fighters. Very high fire rate, doesn't do a ton of damage, but as long as you get enough rounds on the target, you probably end up setting fire to things, which generally works very well. It also has 2 offensive guns, which are positioned in the middle of the engines. Well, what I mean is the wing section between the engines. I don't mean actually in the engines themselves. And so after you've dropped your bombs, you could technically go ahead and be able to go on the offensive. The problem is, once again, they're only ShKASs, so it's not a ton of firepower. You basically have the same firepower as most 1.0 biplanes for Russia, which is just not great. So the main reason you play this thing is to bring the big bombs, to be able to donk things at lower BRs, in ground or in naval, and that should be generally how it works. The flight characteristics of this thing will not be good. There hasn't really been a vehicle that is like this in War Thunder, which has felt good to fly. The Horton had its time, but nowadays, the Horton, which is obviously the one big flying wing that we have in the game, it loses so much energy on a turn. So that means that it gets like 2 good turns, and then after that, it's very sluggish and it's very easy to destroy. The DBLK will be the same. It'll have a huge turning circle, it'll bleed a ridiculous amount of speed, and you'll just be able to clean it up very easily. One of the interesting things about bombers like this, though, is, as I said, the other roles that they have. And with Gaijin in the recent Q&A talking about how they think there is definitely a problem with bombers in terms of their survivability, maybe that'll be a positive for this vehicle, and maybe it'll affect it in a good way. It'll also have a bombing sight, which will make it a lot easier to use instead of having to do any dive bomb shenanigans, which is something a lot of lower tier vehicles have to do too. So there is at least some positives for this machine. I just really wish it wasn't a goddamn premium. Sick of all of the unique and interesting flight models that, new players could get access to, so they get interested in the game and really enjoy it, are locked behind paywalls. Kind of bored of it. Not a fan at all. So, hopefully we get a standard tech tree version of this, which won't happen because it's a one-off prototype, but you never know. Maybe they will add in some fake vehicle, which is similar to it. But let me know what you think about the vehicle. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. For me, since it's a premium, it's probably going to be a pass. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.